Hello and welcome to the launch event for my new book, Find Time for Exercise. My name's Mike Dales and I really wanted to present this to a live audience, but for various reasons linked to COVID, that's not been possible. So, launched by video it is. Therefore, a great big thank you for joining me for this presentation. Over the next few minutes, I will give you a feel for what this book is all about. But first of all, I hope, like me, you are standing comfortably. With excess sitting linked to around 50,000 early deaths a year in the UK alone, the dangers of physical inactivity should be all too obvious. Yet somehow the dangers of prolonged sitting due to office-based working and TV viewing are going under the radar. Find Time for Exercise aims to draw the reader's attention to just how evil the chair is in all its sinister formats and guard against being dragged into its "ooh, look how comfy I am" confidence trick. Chapter 4 of Find Time for Exercise aims a sledgehammer directly at the chair and warns against the dangers. Here's a short extract I would like to read from Chapter 4. The chair really has become the Grim Reaper's new weapon of mass destruction. It's time to recognise that fact and commit to doing something about it. It's time to fight back, punch your right fist in the air, rise off the settee in revolt and stomp away from the computer screen. It's time for us all to question how much time we spend on our backsides and take some positive action to sit less, stand more and move more. All chairs should have a warning sign nailed to them, front and back, and these signs should be so big, so prominent that we could not approach a chair without seeing the writing on these signs. Warning: this is a chair. It is potentially hazardous to your health, could shorten your life, and in conjunction with other chairs has the potential to bankrupt the country. Use sparingly and only for short periods of less than half an hour in one sitting. Sit less, stand more, move more. Having set the scene by warning against the dangers of excessive sitting, the rest of the book is dedicated to the central theme, which is that setting yourself a physical exercise challenge is a great way of providing you with the inspiration and the motivation to keep going. The book is divided into three main sections, looking at my exercise challenge, the exercise challenges being undertaken by other people, culminating in a call to action to ask what challenge you are going to take on. I'll now tell you a little bit about each section. My challenge is to make an active travel journey of at least 5 kilometres every single day. For me, that journey can be walking, running, cycling, canoeing, kayaking or skiing. My exercise streak has now lasted over 3,100 days, or 8.5 years. In the book, I explain the origins of my challenge, how I managed to keep getting out at all times of the year, and recount some of the quirkier journeys over the years. The section of the book looking at their challenges includes in-depth interviews with 10 people, each with their own personal reasons for taking on a challenge and ensuring they take more regular physical activity. From elderly people walking up flights of stairs in care homes to former Olympic marathon runner Ron Hill, who ran at least 1 mile every day for over 52 years. Wherever you are on that broad spectrum, from being totally inactive to Mo Farah, this book gets you to think more about sitting less, moving more, and nudging yourself along that spectrum. The culmination of the book is the final section, which turns to you, the reader, and asks, what are you going to do? This section includes lots of tips and tricks to get you to think about what would be appropriate for you, and provides 10 principles to think about when setting your own personal challenge. The book is very practical in nature and provides lots of encouragement to the reader. As well as the sections I wrote myself, there are lots of tips from the people I interviewed in that middle section of their challenges. I would just like to read a couple of short passages from one of the answers to the question, what advice would you give to someone who isn't taking regular exercise? This answer was from Sam, who suffered from postnatal depression a few years ago following the birth of her daughter. What's your message to anyone that isn't taking regular exercise? Keep it simple. I think when people think they need to exercise or do physical activity, they kind of think too big. They think I need to do this massive challenge, or I need to do something to excess for it to be any good. And actually, you know what? Planning a 20-minute walk on your lunch break every day, that's enough to get you going. It's about finding something that hooks you, that motivates you. So I think it depends on what your motivation is in the first place. But I think the main piece of advice is just keep it simple. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be a marathon or an ultra or big, fantastic challenge that you get sponsored for. It can be one small lifestyle change that can make the biggest difference. Like I say, that might be just building a 20-minute walk into your day, or saying every time we have a day off, we're going to do something more active. That is a quick run-through of what the book is all about. There is also a foreword by adventurer Sean Conway and endorsements from Professor of Physical Activity Chris Oliver and retired footballer John Yogi Hughes. In addition to their written pages in the book, here are a few further words of support from Professor Chris Oliver.
One of the things I've done this year is I've tried to cycle every day, and I've been inspired by Mike Dowell's To Cycle, and I've cycled somewhere on a bicycle it may only just be a short distance. It only might only be a mile, or if the weather's been bad, it's been on a spin bike inside. But some days I've cycled 20 or 30 miles, and I think the benefit of being physically active, as indicated in Mike's book, is a wonderful thing to do. And we know that physical activity reduces lots of comorbidities to do with cardiovascular disease, musculoskeletal problems, risks of cancer. There's a myriad number of disorders that can be reduced by being physically active. So I'd recommend you to read Mike Dell's book, Find Time for Exercise, and after reading it, you might find that you live a bit longer.
My website is at findtimeforexercise.com, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and YouTube. If you would like further information about the book, please contact me through one of those channels or send me an email at mike@findtimeforexercise.com. Finally, I want to answer the question that you may have been wondering about. Where did the title of the book come from? Well, I have 19th century Prime Minister Edward Smith Stanley to thank for that one. He once famously said, "Those who do not find time for exercise will have to find time for illness." 2 centuries later, those words are more pertinent than ever before. We now find ourselves in the midst of a physical inactivity crisis. This book is picking up on Edward's message and expanding it for a 21st century audience. As I said at the beginning, there are estimated to be around 50,000 early deaths a year attributed to excessive sitting. As Professor Chris Oliver said in his endorsement in the book, Find Time for Exercise is an essential read, especially if you want to live longer. Okay, thank you for taking the time to watch my presentation. If you do have any questions, then please do get in touch with me and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. In the meantime, the book is available in all good bookstores and is available as an e-book as well. Thank you again.